All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 115. I think I didn't check before we looked, but I'm pretty sure it's 115. This week, we're here to watch Demonic from
Woo!
2021. Directed by, what's the Neil Blomkamp? Is that his name? Neil
Bloomhouse.
Blumkamp or
Um,
whatever. Anyway, but yeah,
Bloomhouse is on different. My bad.
okay, yeah, but the only reason we watch this movie is because it's directed by Neil Blomkamp, or however you pronounce his last name, who he directed Elysium and Chappie and District 9, all those fucking movies, and I like all of them. I think Tyler said District
Well,
9 is good, Chappie sucks, and Elysium is mid or something like that. But
the reason we watch this movie is because you made us. Don't try to push
what?
the.
Listen, you loved it, okay?
I even missed a week and you pushed it back. I
I
was like,
did.
no.
Yeah, we were like, all right, so we're doing the cast tomorrow, and you were like, all right, cool, Child's Play 3, and I said no. I said demonic. Speaking of the week we missed, I watched Don't Panic last week, which in the cast I think I gave it like a 5.5, but I told everyone, I was like, listen, this isn't a good 5.5. It's just that it was just stupid and I liked it. I did feel somewhat justified in my choice because you know Red Letter Media,
Yeah.
that okay, they're the dudes who do like that best of the worst thing where they always
Okay.
watch like the bad. Anyway, so randomly I was watching one of their videos and they were doing the best of the worst where they just have these bad movies, and Don't Panic was on there, and I was like, oh shit. And at the end, they pick which is the best movie of the worst, you know? And they were like, by far, it's Don't Panic. Don't Panic is actually like, it's fun to watch. And I was like, oh, look at that. So I was excited about that. And also, I wanted to mention that when we covered Child's Play 2, I forgot to mention that the mom in Child's Play 2, the foster mom, is the lady from An American Werewolf in London. So
Yeah.
shout out.
The girlfriend.
Yeah, I forgot to
Yeah.
mention that, and it's been bugging me ever since. So got it out of the way. So anyway, we're here to watch Demonic. I was very disappointed in this movie. Oh god, I choked. Uh, whatever our feelings might be about Neil Blomkamp, fuck, I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Oh,
Uh,
Neil.
I think at least we could probably agree that his strength has been originality. Like the movies he's been making have pretty original, fucking uh, ideas and shit. There's nothing original about this movie. I thought this was just like, how many times have we seen like a demonic mom or a mom who beats people and turns out she's possessed? And I guess if you, slight spoiler, skip 5 seconds. I guess if you want to get maybe the army of fucking priests or whatever is
But that's a real thing. Like, they
yeah,
had their
like,
own thing or whatever.
but yeah, I didn't think there was anything original about this movie, and I didn't think the movie was very good either. I'm gonna give it a 4, which is probably higher than what you're gonna give it, but yeah, it disappointed me. There, it was just shit we've already seen 1,000 times. So I'm gonna give a 4 to Demonic. Tyler, what do
I don't know
you?
what my lowest rating of all time is, but I want to give it to this movie. I'm gonna say maybe a 1 or 2,
Oh,
and I'm gonna go on a limb here and say something.
okay,
And I don't know how it's gonna be taken,
all right,
but I'm just gonna say it anyways.
okay.
Why do they feel the need to make all this shit like female? Like, why'd it have to be her mom and then her? Like, every movie you watch, it's a female who gets possessed by demons and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Make it be a badass dude. Like, if you're a demon who's taking
Well,
over
I mean,
people, fucking grab a soldier or something,
yeah.
right? Like he does in the end of this, and it's like, guys,
Well,
I'm gonna
it's
go after the 40-year-old nurse. That's
yeah.
really gonna be what helps me, take over the world or whatever.
I don't know. Well, the parent thing is always like, oh, they just go into the parent because then they just have a child that they can abuse
Yeah.
all the time and it's weak or whatever. But I mean, when shit hits fuck, shit hits the fan. Dude does go after like, soldier dude to do some shit.
I feel like horror has two ways it goes, to where it's true horror or it's horror aimed at females to like for some stupid reason. You know what I'm saying?
All I'm
Like,
thinking about as you're saying this is the short. This movie must be made for women because it's just dumb. Like I didn't mean it that
no,
way.
it's you know what I'm saying though. It's like there's stuff they deal with this, and like, but they were like, the super spoiler warning. So spoiler warning now. Hey guys, we're gonna spoil this movie. But she's like, I left my mom behind. I need to save her. No, no dude would do that. They'd be like, R, and they would reverse the truck. It's just so much dumb stuff in this that there was only one part of the movie I liked.
Hmm.
And I'm really mad. It's probably why I gave this movie such a low score. Because District 9's like visual effects were really good.
Yeah.
And it really like took a whole new spin on aliens and stuff, right? Like because they're like insects or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. Chappie's shit was good. Elysium's a beautiful movie, effects wise. And then we get into this, and they're like, "Hey, look at this VR stuff. Oh yeah, we're gonna make it look like '80s fucking VR from like the worst shit ever."
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I watching this on a 4K TV? Like, there's no point. So,
I thought
give it
yeah.
a 2. By the
Okay.
way, that's not cool.
All right. I thought I was like, oh, maybe he just directed it. Maybe someone else wrote it. And then at the end, it pops up like written and directed by Neil Blomkamps, and I was like, oh no, never mind. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Is this demon thing real? Is that like a real demon that like is in archives and stuff?
probably.
Like, I mean, real's kind of quotation marks, cause
Yeah.
But like, if it's a real, like you read up on it, and like maybe a lot of this shit was actually based on what people consider facts, and that's what we're missing out on. Because I did not see. I was like, no, like it.
Anyway.
I don't know.
All right.
The horrible.
Yeah. Well, hey, spoiler warning
Hey.
for Demonic. We're gonna ruin everything about it that we haven't already ruined in the beginning, and so if you haven't seen it, you've been warned. So first off, Tyler,
can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I got one question.
Okay.
What was the scariest part of this movie for you?
I don't know. Well, it was 3 weeks ago, so I don't remember anything about it. I was gonna go based off of what the notes were.
The scariest part for me is 30 minutes in. I went to the bottom and I saw I had another hour of it. That was the worst part. Like,
yeah.
Anyways,
I was gonna say. So, I told you that there was a guy in this movie who's in something that we watched before, and I wanted to see if you knew who it was.
So, I mean, obviously the District 9 guy, because I think he's in all his movies.
Was there a District 9 guy in this?
Isn't the main guy from District 9 the head priest?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, because the head priest is who I'm talking about. It's not him.
The little Asian dude's in a lot of stuff too. Okay. Like his right-hand man.
Yeah, but... So the head priest, the bald dude, Tyler, he is the guy from Over the Black Rainbow. When I looked that up and I saw that, I went, holy shit. I didn't think that guy was in anything else. I just thought he stopped at Black Rainbow. So, I think he definitely put on some more bulk, or maybe it was just that army outfit they had him wearing. Because he looked like a skinny little fucker in the Over the Black Rainbow. And in this movie, he's like jacked.
I mean, to the...
Oh. Hello?
I can see it, but hey, what's up?
Oh, you broke up. I didn't hear you.
I break up with you.
Damn.
You never watch Stranger Things where like 11 breaks up with the dude. It's like
I know the fucking meme though, yeah.
And it's like
I dump your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, this is why I haven't watched the show. So anyway, so here we go. Tyler's gonna have to help me out with a lot of this because, like I said, 3 weeks
Gotcha.
ago. So my first note is the movie starts off with this chick walking through a wheat field, and she's calling out for her mom. And there's what looks like a random, to me, it looked like a deserted hotel in the coming up. I swear they keep coming back to this building, and it looks different every fucking time they come back to it. To the point that I was like, are they at different buildings? Like, have they switched buildings? Uh, but she comes up to this building and she hears her mom calling for help. This chick does not seem very worried about hearing her mom call for help, by the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
yeah, and eventually she finds her mom sitting on a bed in this one room, and the the mom's like, "What the fuck is it?" I'm already starting off. This is what okay. This is what the so. Don't you see what you're standing in? Oh, okay. And then she throws like a fucking fireball or something, and this big fire and shit. What happens in this beginning, Tyler?
Oh my God. So
I watched this 3 weeks ago.
it's a dream, right? And she goes back, and the lady's in the old folks' home, and she's like trying to talk to her mom, and she's not looking at her. She's like, "Don't you see where you're standing?" And she had poured gasoline over everywhere, and then she throws a match on the ground, and that's
Oh
when she
shit!
wakes up.
All right, thank you.
You don't think you would remember there being epic fireballs in this? Like what? Maybe it was a
This
big
movie is
flame.
very forgettable, Tyler.
Maybe it was a bit. That lady's famous. The mom's the most famous person in the movie, I want to say.
Yeah.
She used to be on Law and Order: Criminal Intent.
Hmm.
She's been on tons of shit,
Yeah.
but you don't realize it's her till the end because she's all like beat the fuck up.
Yeah. This lady's alarm clock, by the way, is like fucking carved into my memory. That fucking that fucking alarm clock that like everyone's
Yeah.
parents had, and yeah, it's something. So she leaves her house after she wakes up, and she goes out to her car. Um, and when she gets in the car, she gets a text message from. I thought it was one of the things where she was like looking at a text message from her mom that was like, "I want to talk to you," and it was gonna be like that was the last message I ever got from her, and one of
Yeah.
those things. But apparently, it was from this dude. What was his name? Like John? I know I have it written down later when we
Mark.
get to it. Mark. Okay,
Mark.
it was from this dude Mark, who asked. He's like, "Hey, I'm in town. I was hoping we could catch up or something." Uh, and you assume it's like this is like the ex-husband or ex-boyfriend. That's where this stuff always goes. But when we get to it later, I'm pretty sure it's like the mom's ex-husband and her ex like boyfriend or something. Because first off, the dude looks like he's like 20 years older than this lady, and second, I'm pretty sure that him and the mom were the couple, and she was she was just like fucking kid or whatever. Um, So, lady goes to her fucking friend's house, who apparently just moved to town, and it's been like, fucking, I don't know how long she says she's been gone, but she's like, oh, it's so good to be back or whatever. And as she's here, she tells her, oh yeah, fucking Mark or whatever texted me. He wants to, it's been 8 years since I talked to him or whatever. And she's like, I don't need to concern myself with that business again. And once again, I was like, all right, so this is like an abusive relationship, or the dude was a drunk or something. Uh, and then after she's with the friend, she leaves like 5 minutes after she's there. Like she had one
Yeah.
drink, was like, oh, I got all these problems. All right, peace out. See you later.
So she drove to the middle of nowhere, and then the very next scene, they're eating a pizza that got delivered. And I'm like,
Yeah.
As a person who lives in the middle of nowhere, I know that they don't deliver pizza.
Yeah. Um, I was convinced, by the way, later on in this movie, I was like, there's got to be something up with the friend. Like, I was like, she's like the fucking demon spawn or something. Like, she's like causing all this. But no, the friend's just a friend. I mean, spoiler, she does get possessed later on in the movie. Maybe.
So,
I think
I
I think
mean,
it was real. I don't think it was just a dream.
no, it differs. But anyways,
Hmm.
there's. I mean, I know it's been a while
Uh,
since you watched it,
yeah.
and I don't know what's up with her or whatever. There is something very off about the way that lady looks, and I don't know if she had like weird plastic surgery, maybe she had fake contacts in or something, but she didn't look like a
Her
real person at
her
all.
yeah, her eyes. I think it might just be because it was it was a African American chick and she had like blue eyes, and maybe you're not just used to that.
No, I mean you see that all the time now, right?
Yeah,
But
I
like,
don't know. Yeah,
I don't
the
know. There's just
eyes
something
were
about her where she didn't seem like she fit in or whatever. It's like when you watch a movie and it's all big name people, and then there's like one random girl who's not like a big name person,
uh
and they kind of stand out just because they're not in your mind or whatever.
yeah.
And then you're like, that's the girl showing titties later, you know, or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, you know the one, and she. Don't get me wrong, I didn't know the other woman either, but that lady just stood out to me for some reason.
I do remember like her eyes specifically. I was like, "Oh, look at these fucking eyes." Like they're. So anyway, she leaves a friend. She ends up deciding to go meet with the guy cuz of course she does. Um and she meets up with him at like this fucking restaurant or whatever. And he starts telling her like he got involved with this group who does this medical research thing with felons. Uh, and they put him in charge of looking after this one lady who's in a coma, and it ended up being this the main character's mom. And once again, the dude's like, "Oh yeah, your mom's in a coma," and the lady goes like, "My mom's in a coma? How?" And like doesn't seem to show any like just like emotion or anything about this. I guess maybe it's because we'll learn that the mom and her don't have a great relationship, but
Yeah.
it just seemed like she was never showing any like emotion besides just like, what? Oh, that's crazy. Um, but anyway, yeah, he's like, so she's in a coma. All this shit. He's like, they want you to come. Like, I think they say the mom asked for her, or he says that, or they asked for you specifically. They want you to come there or whatever. And then before he leaves, he apologizes about before, and he's like, I understand why you got mad and shit, but before he can like go any further into it, she's like, oh, it's fine, we're cool or whatever. Um, okay, so that night is when she gets a phone call from the medical group, and they ask her if she wants to come visit her mom, because the mom's not doing very well apparently. And at first she like is like, no, I don't want to do it. But of course she ends up being like, yeah, whatever. Um, and then the lady once again, she's like, well, hey, what happened to her or whatever. And the guy's like, we can't talk about that over the phone. Uh, so yeah, they hang up. She's like, all right, I'll be by tomorrow or whatever. She shows up. This is when we're introduced to the main doctor, who is this bald fucking big buff dude, and is played by the guy from Over the Black Rainbow. And we're also introduced to who I think they say he's like the head, like computer guy or whatever. Which is the Asian dude, who immediately I was like, something's up with this guy because he's covered in tattoos and like he always has his shirt open to where you can see like this big chest piece and shit. Pieced. That's not how you say that word. Piece. Uh, and I was like, something's up with these guys.
Well,
Uh,
just the one guy, right? Like the regular guy was like,
the
"Oh, I'm
one
a
dude looks
physician."
like fucking Johnny Sins. That's all I can think about. Maybe it's just because Johnny Sins is such a meme at this point. And that's all. Anytime you see a bald guy, I'm just like Johnny Sins. But that's all I kept.
I think you think of him for a different reason there, but
Yeah.
no comment.
Hey.
No comment.
So anyway, they tell her that the mom has something called like ALS, uh, which what do they say that she has? Is it ALS?
I don't remember. I know that she's locked in syndrome.
That's what, yeah, but then they give it like a fucking, the letters or whatever. But yeah, locked in syndrome. They're like, she can feel everything, but she's like unable to move and like she can't move anything, but she's still like alive or whatever. Uh, and so they're like, listen, we built this fucking simulation thing where we can send like her brain waves into it to where she can live in there or whatever. And we want you to go in and talk to her and see if she's doing all right. So we know if we're helping her live a more comfortable life, with our treatments or whatever. Um, and yeah, so it's basically this big dream world that they've set up, and they want her to go in and communicate to the mom. And so she's like, fucking, all right, whatever, I guess I'll go in. So they take like a bunch of scans of her body to make like her AI fucking body, and they hook her up in the fucking machine. Um, and or no, before they do that, she hadn't seen the mom at this point because they're about to walk into the room where the mom is, and the dude like pulls her aside and is like, listen, your mom isn't gonna look great. It shocks some people to see their loved ones like this. I'm just giving you a heads up. And so when they walk in, it's just like they like painted the mom gray, and there's like some like there's scratches and shit all over because apparently she would have fucking nightmares or something where she would start hurting herself. So they have her chained or like tied down on the bed and stuff. And so they put the lady on the bed next to her, and they put them into the simulation world. In the simulation world, they can hear and see everything she's doing, but she can't hear anything they're doing outside. So the simulation world, Tyler, how did you feel about it? It looked like a Telltale game or like Life is Strange type of animation.
Those are both too good of games. Like, I'm trying to think. It was just bad.
Yeah.
It was like a mix of watercolors and like it wasn't pixelated. The problem is like I know they were going for a look.
Uh-huh.
And I just didn't like the look. Everything they did was great. They put a lot of details in everything they did. Like seeing her face through her head and all that other stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like I could tell someone put in a fuckload of time on it.
Yeah.
It was just wasted on me because like I know what bad graphics look like.
Yeah.
That looked like someone told someone to make bad graphics who didn't know what bad graphics look like.
Yeah. I hated it at this opening part, and then the more they came back to it, it started to be one of the only things about the movie that I liked just because it was different. Because everything else, I was like, well, I've seen all this other shit play out in 1,000 other movies. So, like, I was like, at least this fucking video game world, I was like, all right, sure, at least this is different. So that was the only reason that I ended up, like, liking it. Was just because it added something new to the movie. But yeah, so like I said, it looks like it's like a Telltale type of game. She's in here for fucking like 5 minutes the first time, just walking around, looking at what I assume is like her childhood home and shit. And eventually, she goes into a room and she finds her mom, who's like sitting on the bed with her back to her. And this is when the lady's like, "Hey, mom, I only came here to tell you that I fucking hate you." And it was like, oh, she doesn't like the mom or whatever. And the mom, like, I don't think the mom even says anything. She's just like, uh-huh. And so the lady's like, "Turn around and look at me. I want you to see me, And the mom's like, "I don't want to turn around and look at you." She's like, "You need to leave and never come back, And the lady's like, "Fucking look at me." So finally the mom turns and starts fucking yelling at her. And she's like, "You need to fucking leave." And then don't they wake her up, right? That's the end of that first dream.
Yeah, well, she like she yells at her, says her piece or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "You need to leave." and you shouldn't be here, never come back. I'm
Yeah.
trying to save you, and all this stuff. She was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Uh, yeah, but the weird thing is because they say that the mom had asked for her specifically. So then it's like, well, why would the mom, And then later, there's a big reveal or whatever. So they do a post interview with this lady, where she starts talking about, these empty-headed fucking dumb fucks named Hangman Adam Page who go out and go into business for themselves. And that's for the 7 people who will get that reference, who are caught up on all the drama I've filled you in on. They do this post interview, and they're asking her like what it was like. The lady says that her mom was younger than she is now, or whatever. And they're like, yeah, that's how the brain like perceives itself, or wants to be perceived, or whatever. That's basically just their way of being like, yeah, we cast this lady who's like the same age as this lady to be the mom. It's a dream. It doesn't fucking count. So also in this is when she mentions that she's younger than when she left for jail. So it's like, okay, well, the dude mentioned he worked with felons, but that was when I was like, oh, so the mom fucking went to jail for something. The dude is like, listen, I get you're angry about everything, but we really want you to come back. And she's like, angry? Fucking, she left me and went on a homicidal rampage. And it was like, oh shit, So it was like, all right, what we got going on here? But the problem is, I think, honestly, is that the movie is called Demonic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that basically, it's like, oh yeah, fucking, it's gonna be a demon like took over her or whatever. But
Well, this dude wrote this movie too, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but in like the first 30 minutes, probably right here. Well, no, because it's after she talks to Mark.
Uh huh.
There's times where they tell you about her character and they can't figure out a way to work it in.
Yeah.
So they just blatantly say the shit.
Yeah.
Like she shows up to talk to Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her, I guess, old boyfriend.
No.
And he was like, I got you Coke because I know you like Coke. Here's Coke. And I was like, what? Why is that in the story? And like when she meets her best friend, Sam? Was that
I think the Sam is the best friend, yeah.
And she's like, oh, I remember you went through all that stuff when you went through all that stuff. So here I am for my bestie. And I'm like, why does it feel the need to tell us that? We should like learn that, like, not art, It just feels so forced. Yeah. It's like they're trying to skip or save a little bit of time and do this way, but you could have just done a montage of newspaper clips at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And been like, oh, you don't know, that's your fucking problem. So, but anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, they want her to come back. She's like, I'll think about it, So she leaves. She's driving home and she gets to like a red light and Oh, the only reason I mentioned this is because she gets to a red light and she's like stopped and she's thinking about like the long day and the light turns green and she doesn't see it. So then people start honking behind her and she's like, oh, sorry. And she like waves and drives off. And I was like, Russell Crowe wouldn't take that shit. He would have fucking, he would have made them have a bad day. So that night she goes home. She's having another dream. She's following her mom's voice to like this shack in the middle of the woods. And when we go in, we see like these dissected animals and shit on this table. And then she wakes up again, So of course she decides to come back and go back into the simulation world. So this is the first time because she comes back and the Asian dude is like getting her ready for everything. And he's like, oh, I really appreciate you coming back. I know this must be really hard for you. And I was like, this dude's too nice. I was like, I ended up thinking he was going to end up being like the worst one, because I knew something was going to be up with the doctors. So I was like, I bet you this dude's like ruthless. I ended up being like wrong about that. I don't think he was like, I mean, the only time they see him after it's revealed who they actually are, spoiler, he's dying already. So he didn't really have a chance to be ruthless, I guess. But yeah, so I was like, something's up with this guy, So this time in the simulation, uh, the lady goes into like a drainage ditch, and when she comes out the other side, it's like this overlook, and it's overlooking like the ocean and all this shit. And the mom is sitting out here on like a bench, and so the daughter is like, "Why are you out here?" And the mom is like, "This is where it gets its power from, you know." And the daughter's like, "What's it, you know?" Um, and this is when the mom is like, "It's what called you here." And the daughter's like, "No, you called me here." And she's like, "No, it called you here. I didn't call you here." And so it's like, ooh, you know, something else is up. Uh, so then the next thing you know, the mom just goes flying up into the fucking air. And things are glitching out. The fucking ladies, the daughter's like, "Get me the fuck out of here. I want out." But of course, fucking Johnny Sims is like, let's just wait a minute. He like puts his hand on the Asian dude's shoulder, and he's like, let's just let her ride this out, you know? So she goes running around. Everything's fucking freaking out. Eventually, when she gets near, once again, that hotel, or I think that once they eventually call it, it's like a sanitarium or something they call it.
Yeah, it's where you send fucking lunatics.
Yeah, she sees that building again, and she starts to she hears someone whispering her name, and she's like, "What the fuck?" So she goes over, and when she looks in, she sees her dead friend laying on the ground, who I think it's Sam who was there laying on the ground, uh, and she's like, "What the fuck is that thing?" You know, or you know, my friend's dead. But then, out of a room at the end of the hall, comes out the demon of this movie, which basically it looks like they just took like a big fucking chicken costume and painted it black.
Pretty sure it's supposed to be a crow, but yeah,
Yeah, but it's just a fucking big bird, and they're like,
it is,
yeah,
it is.
and they're like, demon. It's like, okay, I guess so. Yeah, so this demon, yeah, like Tyler says, it's like a raven's head or a crow's head.
But it's at such a weird angle that it just looks dumb. Like
it looked dumb every time, yeah.
Every single time. Like it's even worse later on when Homegirl puts on that mask and pretends to be it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that's like a real mask from the 20s or something. Like it actually looks real.
Uh-huh.
But it's so bad.
It's, yeah. So the lady tries to get away from it. The thing like grabs her arm and fucking like its talon hand or whatever like scratches down the middle of her arm. And so when she wakes up, they finally get her out of the dream. We see that, you know, we got some Freddy Krueger shit going on where whatever she happened to her in there also popped up in real life because she has the cut right down her arm. So yeah, once again they do another interview. This is when the lady says that, you know, that place that they keep seeing that is a sanitarium, and apparently the mom was a nurse there. And I think later they mentioned that when the mom goes crazy, she like killed a bunch of people in there. Like just fucking, she started a fire at some house and like burned a bunch of people alive.
Yeah, it was an old folks home.
Okay. So
her grandma was at.
Yeah. Yeah, so apparently the mom used to work there as like a fucking a nurse. And then later when they find the mom after all this shit, that's where they find her as well. So it just so happens though that when the mom had her whole thing where she went missing, and then when they brought her back and she was crazy, she also had a cut right down her arm that was like the same cut that this lady has. So now she's like, oh shit, something might happen to me, you know? Yeah, so from that point on, we get some more flashbacks to like the mom, and the lady's like, oh, from that day onward when we found her at that sanitarium with the cut on her arm or whatever, she was like comatose and she like wouldn't move around and shit. And then like the lady walks in one day on her mom like cutting up a crow in the kitchen on like the table or whatever. And apparently, I think I did read that like this demon thing they're talking about is like a real demon, and like that's one of the things to like start it, or there's like decapitate a crow, and you have to like do something with the head. But yeah, it's a whole thing. And so then probably my favorite part of the movie or favorite shot of the movie is eventually the mom gets home one day and she sees, or the lady gets home one day and she sees the mom being loaded into a cop car. And they, that's when she's like, oh, she went on a homicidal rampage and burned down the old folks' home and shit. But as the mom's like getting into the thing, she turns and like looks at the daughter, and like the rain almost looks like it's in slow motion. And the mom just like gets this big smile on her face as she's like getting locked up or whatever. That was a cool shot. That was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, was that scene. So fucking, she's like, oh, now I'm gonna turn into a demon, So she leaves the medical place. She calls Sam to make sure Sam's all right because of the dream she just got. And Sam's like, oh yeah, of course I'm all right. But she sounds like extra peppy and cheery, when she's talking to her. And it's like, oh, something's going on here. She goes and talks to, I think his name might be Martin instead of Mark.
Martin?
Martin. I have it written down Martin.
Maybe. It might. You know me. I remember dumb shit. I don't remember the real stuff.
Yeah. So she goes to talk to Martin or Mark. And she apologizes to him because he told her about all this demon shit when all this stuff was happening. So apparently that's why he went off for 8 years, because they thought he was fucking crazy. Because he was like, there's demons and they've taken over your mom and all this shit, And they were like, get the fuck out of here. So she's like, look, I got this fucking same cut on my arm that my mom had. And when she tells him that, I swear the dude was going to be like, I'm going to fucking kill you. He just looked so scared when he saw the fucking cut on her arm. So she's like, I want help. I want to know about this stuff. So he tells her like the mom would sleepwalk and wake up in the middle of the woods naked and shit. And, or no, he would end up sleepwalking and wake up naked in the woods and cold and shit. And he kept sketching down like all this weird stuff he was dreaming about. And when he shows her like some of the drawings, it's the chicken demon that she saw. And she's like, oh, that's the dude. And he takes her to a shed that he has and shows her like fucking all this stuff about demonic possession. And, he even mentions here the first part of the possession is to make a raven amulet, with, the fucking raven head or whatever. So that's what the mom was doing in the kitchen. Was that a cough, or were you trying to say something?
No, I was agreeing.
Oh, okay. I do like as he's talking and he's like explaining all this shit, it just pans over to the lady one time and the lady's just like, okay. She's just like, all right. So then the dude drops that he believes that the doctors at that place are actually an army of priests that are sent to hunt down these demons using all this different technology and shit. So they're trying to find the demons that are hiding inside these people. And apparently the demon gateway is the sanitarium. So he thinks they're going to take the mom back to the sanitarium to try to get the demon to come out. So she's like, well, fuck. Alright, that's pretty crazy. I need to go home and think about this. But when she goes home, her friend Sam is in there and like spooks her on accident. And she's like, oh, I just thought I'd come and cheer you up. But the lady's like, no, get the fuck out of my house, And so, so Sam gets kicked out of the house. She goes to bed Um, and as she's sleeping, like, there's a fucking heavy knocking on her door and shit, and she wakes up, and it's like, oh no, the demon's knocking on my door, you know? But when she gets over to the door, it ends up being like the friend Sam's like, you really scared me. I really need to come back and check on you and all this shit. And so the lady's like, oh, I was mad at you when you were in my house before, but I'm not mad at you for knocking on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like,
Right?
you're. So she's like, come on in, Uh, so they're talking a little bit, and then the fucking Sam is like, you want to see me do a trick? Uh, and then she pulls out like the old death mask from back in the plague or whatever, like the doctor,
Yeah.
and puts that on, and then she like breaks herself backwards, and she's like, and she goes crawling after. Apparently the lady's name is Carly, by the way, the main lady. And she goes crawling after Carly down the fucking the hallway, but Carly like locks herself in a room. And then the friend's like, if you can't find me, just remember, look in the woods, And then she's fucking gone. So as the lady leaves, she's still hiding in her room, and then she sees these like long black talons come out of the closet, and the fucking bird demon thing comes out. And it once again, it just looks terrible. Like I have written down here, it looks like a Big Bird puppet that they painted black and they just made come out and attack. The fucking dog's trying to dig a hole in my bed. Piece of shit. Um, so then she either passes out or wakes up, because she does wake up, but it's one of the things where we don't know if what just happened was real or if it was part of a dream, or she passed out or whatever. So she wakes up, she calls her friend, but her friend doesn't answer. She's like, fuck, I gotta go, something's wrong. And so she's gearing up to leave, and as she leaves, it zooms out, and we see that somehow those priest dudes got a bunch of cameras in her fucking house, and they are in fact like an army of priests, and they're like gearing up to go to war. The Asian dude like has his shirt off and all his tattoos, and he has like knives and shit. And he's sitting on a bench, and he's like praying and stuff. And they're like, yeah, let's fucking do it. So she goes over to Sam's house, but the fucking lights are off and the doors are open and all this shit. She calls the police, and the cop shows up, and he's just like, well, we gotta wait. What is it, 48 hours, yeah. Usually these people already turn up before that, though. I will say I was surprised that, because the cop goes into the house to look, and I was surprised they didn't do the classic, like, oh, the cop gets killed, as he goes into the house. But no, the cop lives, but he doesn't do anything. He's just like, oh, you have to wait 48 hours to put a report in. So she doesn't have that much time, though, so she goes back to Martin, and she's like, hey, Sam's gone. I'm pretty sure that she's at that same building that we found the mom in, so she's like, you need to come with me. We have to go. And so the dude, he doesn't want to, but he's like, well, if you're going, I guess I gotta go,
No, he even says, he goes, you're fucking making, he phrases it weird. He goes, you're fucking forcing me to go with you. You know that, don't you? Or something like that.
Yeah. So then he's got a bunch of fucking weapons and shit. Apparently he was hiding. He's like, fuck yeah, So he gets all this shit. They drive up into the woods where they find Sam's car, like, on a hill where it's, like, slanted and the door's open. And they go along this trail and they find her shoe. And you're like, all right, they're going to have to, like, work to find her. No, she's just like, they find her shoe and they're like, oh, where's Sam? And then they're like, oh, there she is. And she's just, like, sitting on a fucking stump. But she doesn't know how she got there. She says that she saw herself, like, burning alive in her dream or whatever. And she woke up here and she's fucking, all out of it. So, I for a second, something about the way Martin, he was like, all right, let's just get out of here, you know? I kept half expecting him to just like shoot Sam in the head. Because I kept thinking he was going to be this character that was like, no, you don't understand. There is no going back. You need to kill it immediately, you know? And so I kind of thought he was just going to like, pop, you know? But no, he doesn't. But I do love that the whole time they're talking, he's like, can we please get the fuck out of here? You know? He's like, come on, guys. So they get back to the truck. But Sam is like, hey, they took the mom up to the sanitarium. So, like Tyler mentioned earlier, the lady's like, I can't leave my mom. So Martin's like, well, fuck, I gotta go too. So they go up to this fucking sanitarium, and instantly we just see that all the priest soldiers are like dead already, you know?
Like wiped out.
Yeah.
Which, how'd that happen?
Well, apparently the demon jumped out of the mom's body and took over fucking Baldu from Beyond the Black Rainbow's body and fucking killed everybody. So now I don't know how they couldn't manage to shoot him at least once or twice with all them guys, but apparently he just wrecked everyone.
Here's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think these fucking soldiers from the Vatican, aka Pope Central, aka the Holy Land,
yeah,
God's warriors would have, I don't know, a fucking necklace, some sort of keychain, anything to protect them from this?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird because these are religious dudes. And I was like, I guess they're not really bringing that into this.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes later, like, use this knife.
Yeah, use this ancient. Yeah. It's been in the Vatican for 8,000 years or something.
It's like, hey, asshole, why didn't you use it? You had all these knives.
Yeah.
And now we got to believe that this... And they never say what she does for a living. Work tries to call her once, and she sends it to voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're led to believe that this lady's going to take him out when fucking 20 super soldiers couldn't, you know? But, okay. Yeah.
Well, spoiler, I mean, she doesn't really. She just sort of...
Kind of does.
Well, yeah, she, you know. Anyway, yeah, so the everyone's dead. The Asian doctor is in, like, the passenger seat of the car, and he's all, like, fucking dying. And that's when he tells her what we just talked about, and he gives her the knife from the Vatican, and he's like, you need to use this to kill it, you know? So, they fucking follow, so they have to follow the wires on the ground to where the mom is, because the mom's in the simulation, and, you know, that's where the other dude will, and she has to go into the simulation as well to, like... What was she doing in the simulation? Was that where the demon was, or was she just going in there to help the mom?
I don't know. She gets there, and, like, the lady's not responding or whatever. So then she, like... For some reason, they have a table. They have the whole setup there.
Yeah.
Because she was getting exercised or whatever. And then she's like, I gotta save her. And she just jacks into the machine for no fucking reason.
Yeah, and the dude's like, I guess I'll stay here.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, but they follow the wires to the simulation thing, and eventually they come up to this room where there's all these, like, fucking crosses, and there's this tape playing that's just playing these, like, prayers and shit. It is a cool looking room. And the candles are lit and stuff, you know. So she's like, oh, I gotta go into the simulation for some reason. So the Martin's left outside to protect her. And immediately when she goes into the simulation, Johnny Sins is walking down the hall. And he's like, hey, stop moving, you know? So he starts...
him.
You can't, yeah. But, you know, I assume. It looked like everyone else was dead. Unless the demon is possessing, like, dead guys, you know?
And that's what I thought. Because right here, he shoots him, like, 3 times.
Yeah.
And then he shows horrible bolt action control. And it jams his gun.
Yeah. His gun jams. So then he's like... I got a knife, come on, you know? And it was like, yeah, that's gonna go fucking good, you know? So, yeah, he pulls out the knife, he's like, let's go, and then it cuts away before you can see what happens in the fight. The lady goes into the simulation, she finds her mom, like, upside down in this white gown, The mom is apologizing because she let her down. But of course, this is like, now Carly's like, no, I get it now. You were possessed by a demon and shit, you know? And so she's like, it's not your fault. And so the mom's like, I'm at peace now. And she's like, I just want you to grow up and live a happy life, and all this shit. Uh, and then like the lady like sort of like she like poofs or something. And then Carly wakes up in the real world, and the mom's dead too. So
Yeah.
the mom's dead now. But I
Well,
guess
she's like, let's go. And she's like, I can't survive in the world out there.
yeah,
Like, and my shell is too broken or whatever. And then
yeah. So
when they come out, she's dead as fuck, which makes everything they did pointless.
yeah. So the mom's dead, but I guess maybe she's happy now because she doesn't have a demon in her.
Yeah, but she still burned 24 people alive.
Yeah, I gotta live with
And
that.
killed a bunch of, yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, you know what, but today's a new day.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
So when the lady wakes up, she's alone. So she's like, fuck. So she goes looking through the sanitarium, but she drops like her flashlight down these stairs, so it breaks. So now she's like in the dark. But it doesn't really matter because it breaks, and she's like, oh, how am I ever gonna see? But the exit is like right next to her. So she's like, oh. So she just walks outside, goes up to a fucking one of these Jeeps they have, and pulls out infrared vision goggles. And she's like, oh shit. So the movie, I texted Tyler 3 weeks ago and was like, oh, the movie's turning into Predator, you know? And yeah, so but she doesn't fucking ever keep it on. She just like has it on, and then she'll take it off and walk. And it's like, why at this point wouldn't you just keep it on? Like, what's the point of taking it off? So she's walking around. She sees like a big heat signature like coming from around this building, and she goes around, and we see like the truck on fire that they had, and she's like, oh no. And you think it's one of the things where they're gonna be like, you know, they think Sam's dead, but she's not really. But then no, it zooms in, and you just see Sam's burnt carcass like on the fucking and it was like, oh shit. So yeah, the friend's dead now too. So shout out to, you know, that. She goes walking back into the building. Eventually, she finds Martin tied up. And he's got like all this upside down crosses carved into him and all this shit. And she starts to untie him, but he's like, it's coming for you, you know? So the fucking Johnny Sins, not Sims, comes walking towards her. And so the dude's like, go! Or like, it's a terrible fucking yell. And she just goes like running away. Fucking. I don't think he ever kills Martin, right? Martin lives.
He's tied up later, and he goes next to him, and he does this whole scene where he tells him about how he likes to burn people.
Yeah, and isn't he like, I'm gonna come back and like dissect her in front of you, and then I'm gonna kill you and all this shit. He's like, yeah, he's just antagonist. Oh my god! The worst part of the movie is right here. Because this is the first, after the dude runs away, Johnny Sins like stops to talk to Martin for a second.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, here we go. And then the dude's like, oh, Martin, I'm going to kill. Like, he has this stupid fucking deep, dumb voice that I guess they're like, this is a good demon voice. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, I was like, this is awful. It did, like, So, anyway, he fucking says a bunch of shit to Martin, and then he goes chasing after fucking the girl. He sneaks up behind her and grabs her, and they're like fighting, and then she manages to take like the knife and stab him a couple times as he's like grabbing her, and it releases like steam up out of his body, and then the bird demon fucking pops out of the steam and it knocks over Carly. And
that's the best part.
Yeah.
Where he like, the demon grabs the knife and goes, where the fuck you get this bitch? And throws it down the hallway or whatever. But I was like, what?
Yeah.
So.
And so so the bird demon comes out and then flies into her body and knocks her down. And so she tries to crawl over to the knife, and kill herself before the demon could take over, but she doesn't make it, and the demon like is like takes control, and it's like cracking it, getting used to it, and like sits down, and it's like, oh yeah. But then I guess like Carly's able to fight back enough from within side to like grab the knife and like stab herself in the stomach real fast so that the fucking demon can, die. Uh and yeah, so that's what happens. Uh oh, I forgot. Oh no, the bird demon comes out again, and it's like you can see through it. It's like a hologram, and it just like falls over, and it's like ah.
No, it bursts in the flames.
Yeah, bursts in the flames. Uh, and then it starts to fade to black, and there's like this techno beat, and I was like, "Is that the end of the movie?" And I thought it was good, but then like the fucking it opens up again, and yeah, we see Carly, uh, in a hospital bed, and she's alive, and then Martin's here too, and he's visiting, so she's alive. And then, yeah, a couple months later, the lady goes and visits her mom's grave. We don't see her visiting Sam's fucking grave. And then that's the end of the movie. You can tell how enthused I was by how I described the end of the movie just then. So, there you go. That's Demonic.
Yay.
Yeah, this movie had a budget. I don't know. I didn't find the budget, but it had a box office of $366,000, which
Not
yeah,
good.
well, yeah, So there you go.
It was so bad, guys. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Let's do best of worst of. My best of is, like I said, that scene of the mom smiling when she's getting into the fucking cop car, and like the rain. I swear it looked like it was in like slow motion or something, but it was cool. So that was my favorite. Worst of, I didn't even remember it until we were talking about it, but the fucking demon voice. Oh, what are we doing? It was it was so bad. I hated it. The demon in general is terrible. So, there you go. That's my best of worst of. Tyler.
Best of is when Sam gets taken over in the dream or whatever, or what we think is the dream.
But might have been real
backwards. And yeah, well, not real life, but yeah. And it turns backward and runs at her and everything else.
Uh-huh.
That was really cool. It's the only part of the movie I liked.
Yeah.
So the reason I gave it a 2.
Yeah.
The worst part is just Jesus, her, the main character. I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand why they cast. Is she someone's wife or something? The only time she was a good actress was when she was playing the demon at the very end. And that was literally for like 30 seconds until she stabs herself. And for some reason, every fucking horror movie, I'm going to stab myself right in the stomach.
Yeah, it's always the stomach. The most painful spot, you could probably stab yourself.
Like, I don't know if you ever pull a muscle in, like, your abs or whatever.
Yeah.
Ribs
or if you just get, like, an abdomen cramp or whatever. It's like, yeah.
And then, like, everything you do from, like, a sneeze, a cough, anything, and it's just torture. So imagine that, but with, like, a nail in you.
A weird thing, by the way, is, like, so did she not stab the original guy with the Vatican knife when the steam got released and it hit her?
No, you stabbed him twice.
Okay. So then, so she used the same knife, right, to stab herself. So why did it kill the demon then? Because wouldn't it just, like, release the demon like it did the first time?
That's why I was asking if there was an after credit scenes when I was watching it, because, like, I didn't understand it.
I don't know. It just... Anyway.
it was something. Like I said, we could have watched Cujo. Just, but
Mm,
it was like I said. There's some of these movies that I literally think are are aimed at like female audiences and not us. Because someone's gonna go like, well, no, maybe not one of our viewers, but I'm sure people are like, oh, this woman's journey on the way to forgive her mom and face her inner demons and what her and I'm like, no, I don't care about any of that.
uh,
Like, and then the end, they try to make it like an action movie almost, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? This is so dumb. Like,
I don't know. I didn't get the whole woman thing you're talking about. I mean, I think like 85% of the movies we watch are like the horror is a very female led genre. Like most horror movies you watch are usually female led.
not the good ones. Like, name one good movie that like. What
Carrie?
are you talking about? Like, the lead actress is a female, or are you talking about like catering to female audiences?
No, I'm talking about like the main character is a lady.
Oh, well, I mean that's. I mean, you only have well, it's fucking controversial here, but you only really have two options, right?
What?
A man or a woman, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
so like it makes sense to have it be like especially if the protagonist is a dude because I I'm assuming that like always a big fear of every movie is rape,
Oh.
right? Like I mean you don't understand, but women worry about that shit all the time.
I don't know.
They do. It's like no,
Well,
that's
no,
what
I mean,
some
I'll
lady
be
was
the
telling
first
me.
one to bring up
To rape?
to
Can believe
yeah.
it.
But what was the movie? What are we watching? Oh, Child's Play, and they're sharing the bed. And I was like, you think Charles Lee Ray ever was raping some little kids or something? And you were like, whoa! And I was like, what? I didn't get a rapey vibe from this movie.
But like I was talking to like this chick at work, and
Okay.
she was gonna walk to her car, and I just got off,
Uh huh.
and she was like, "Would you walk me to my car?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" I was like, "It's fucking right there. It's dumb."
Uh huh.
And she was telling me that like every time, like it's a whole different world for a woman. Like
Yeah. And
it's
you were like,
really,
oh, you think I'm gonna be the savior?
yeah.
No, no. Then the fucking
This lady was like 17 or something.
oh, I gotta cut
Yeah.
all of this out.
Well, you do, not because of me, but like
Listen,
they were like they can't trust like parking lots. They don't trust like the back seats of their car. Like they check the back seat and all this stuff. I'm like, what? Who hurt you? Oh, like what? I was like, I leave the house naked half the time to check my mail. Like what?
hmm. Anyway,
Anyway,
all right, that's the end of Demonic. What a fucking disappointment of a movie.
oh, I
Next
mean, we
week
know now, right?
we do know, yeah, that's what this journey's about. Next
Ups and
week,
downs.
yeah, there's been a lot of downs
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this on this
Fucking, but
podcast.
that movie gave me a case of the downs. you know,
Ah, um,
of a cut. Sorry, I paused after.
anyway, yeah, so that's the end of Demonic. Next week, we're resuming our Child's Play fucking watch through with the last movie called Child's Play. That's not true. The remake type movie was as well. But Child's Play 3, that's the military academy one. So that's next week. So look forward to that. So, yeah, so Child's Play 3 is next week. And then, Bride after that. And then we'll watch something else. Overtime, like I said, I wanted to do an overtime on Creep 2. I haven't done it yet, but I will. So look out for that at some point. Maybe, when does this come out? Oh, this comes out. This comes out tonight. So maybe Monday there'll be a overtime for Creep 2. Maybe. So look out for that. gaming channel and everything in the description. Shit popping up over there all the time. So, whether it's good or not, that's up for you to decide. But, yeah. Got anything else you'd like to add? I'm trying to think if there's any TV shows or anything recently that.
No, I mean, there's a new Addams Family thing Wednesday or whatever. There's that Dana DeVito cartoon where she's a demon or whatever.
Yeah, I'm tired of demons right now after this one.
I don't think it's good. Like I said, they're hitting their, it's Halloween, so a lot of shit's coming out, but nothing good. Well, I don't want to say nothing good. I don't know. I haven't watched it. It might be amazing.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you, which I guess I'll just ask you here.
Okay.
You ever watched a show called Grimm?
No.
Apparently, it's amazing.
That's some Maverick shit. Because I think it's like an A&E or a fucking CW show.
Yeah, well, he's more of a supernatural or whatever. But the Grimm thing is supposed to be horror based.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't watch horror TV shows a lot. Like, I don't know if it's just because they don't make a lot of them, but I just haven't, like, I'm trying to think. I watched the Chucky show. You count that. There's a show called Outcast that is a Robert Kirkman comic book that I watched 2 seasons of, and then I think it got pushed from Showtime to, like, FX, and I stopped watching it. Yeah. Would you count The Walking Dead? Is that a horror show? I guess it has moments,
zombies,
right? Yeah. So yeah, that. But I haven't watched any of like the American History Story. What is it? American Horror Story. Yeah. Not. I was thinking American History X. American Horror Story.
Different kind of horror story there. But...
Is Black Mirror? Is that a horror show?
Kind of. It's more like Twilight Zone.
Okay.
So it's kind of elevated horror,
But to answer your question, though, I haven't watched Grimm. So
someone was telling me about it the other day.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let me see. I don't know.
I don't know. I've been watching that Game of Thrones show is on, and apparently they keep doing like time jumps because there's a lot of shit. So it's like fucking since the first episode, there's been 3 episodes, and I think like 4 years have passed or something like that. But they talk about like some of the people in the show are like fucking kids, and so and other people are like younger. So as time passes, like midway through the season, they're just gonna switch actors because everyone's so much older. And so it was like, Jesus Christ, you think it's hard to like try to learn everyone now? Imagine when they look completely different. Then yeah, it is very weird. Like I said, the Game of Thrones books, everyone's much younger, but it is weird because in like this show, they're like, hey, how about you marry this 12-year-old? It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, he'll grow up. And then like this other chick, they're like, how about you marry this or you become engaged to this 2-year-old, and when he hits like 10 or something, y'all can get married. And it's like, oh yeah, this was how the book was. So shout out to that book that'll never get finished.
Right.
Yeah, the George R. R. Martin loves to be like, those, they strayed from what I was thinking. And it's like, were they really George, or did you just not fucking write anything? My whole thing, I'm convinced that George R. R. Martin had the same exact ending that these guys had, and then saw everyone hated it so much, and he was like, ooh, and he like started
we
rewriting.
didn't hate it. We just didn't like the way he did it.
It wasn't a bad ending, but they rushed it, so like there was just no build up to anything. For it really is odd. Those guys just got tired of doing that show, and they, instead of like passing the torch to someone and maybe taking like half a season off and then coming back for like a back or something, they were just like, how about we just end the episode or end the show in 6 episodes? And it's like, what? Maybe we should wait, But yeah, I don't know. Like, spoiler for the Game of Thrones ending if you've never seen it. The whole like Daenerys turning into like her dad, because her dad was the Mad King, I think. And like the whole thing, like that made perfect. I was like, all right, cool. That's a cool way to wrap it up or whatever. But they just rushed it, and it went from like she was angry for like an episode, and then she was like, now I'm crazy, and it was just like, all right, And then the whole like Bran becoming king was like, all right, After dude literally 2 episodes ago was like, I will take no titles, and and then he was like, I'm king, bitch. What's up? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. Alright. Child's Play 3 next week. I feel like this episode was kind of shitty, so hopefully next episode will be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's so... This... How can I say it? It's really hard when the movie is just so shit.
Well,
like,
there's
it's not
different...
shit enough.
Yeah, like...
If it's super shit, then that's fucking great.
If it's a society, there's a lot of shit to talk about. But if it's...
There's a shunting,
stay out of the attic.
But this one it just meandered on. There's no great graphics. I think they spent their whole budget on that VR stuff. And
I saw a thread the other day where people were talking about their top 5 or top 10 found footage movies, and the thread that started all off, the guy is like, his number 9 had Willow Creek. I was like, what? But also, apparently there's a movie that a bunch of people have as their in their top 5 that's called like Pleasant Park or something like that, and like the poster, it looks like a desert, and this dude like dressed as a cop, like holding a shotgun to this dude's head or whatever. So we might have to check that out at some point. But
I'll get next week.
Listen. Anyway, Child's Play 3 next week.
Cujo the week after.
No, Bride of Chucky. We are doing Cujo after Bride of Chucky, but so you can watch it, and then at the end of it, you can be like, movie not as good as I remember.
So when we watch Bride of Chucky, we're gonna need a counter for every time Jennifer Tilly tries to show off her tits. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's literally the only thing she has going for.
I mean, listen. Anyway, Child's Play 3 next week. See you then.